Today we're going to be talking all about unemployment, stimulus, and taxes. What are you going to have to pay after everything is said and done for 2020? Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Burks and this is Retirement Rescue, where we talk about how to make money, save money, and live well in retirement. Well, right now a lot of people are getting unemployment benefits. Millions of Americans are receiving unemployment benefits. And with that unemployment, which is paid by the state, many are also getting the $600 bump up each week in federal unemployment. Well, one of the things that's not really being talked about a lot is how is that going to affect your taxes? A lot of people don't realize that unemployment is taxable, and it's taxable at your regular tax rate. When you are on unemployment, one of the things that you don't pay is Social Security and Medicare, which is great. But you still have to pay your percentage of federal and state unemployment taxes. And we're going to get back to states in a minute because some states don't require you pay taxes on unemployment. Most do. But for now, let's just talk about the whole general concept. And before we really get into it, I'm going to say I am not an accountant. Be sure and check with your tax advisor, because as stimulus plans are introduced and passed over the next year, these things can and will change. So be sure and check with your accountant. One of the big things that's been talked about a lot in the news and on all kinds of social media is the fact that that extra $600 a week for a lot of people actually means they're making the same as they were making before when they were employed, or even more. But let's think about that in terms of unemployment. Now, a lot of people who get unemployment checks have the option through their state to check if they want taxes withheld, but usually that option maxes out at like 10%. This is because normally people who are on unemployment are in a lower tax rate if they're unemployed. But this is different this year because of that $600 federal bump up, which is also taxable. So you may be making either close to or more than you were making before. But that means you pay the full taxes. And for a lot of people who aren't self-employed or who haven't had to pay taxes before outside of their employer, this is going to come as a big shock. They will end the year owing taxes, some of them for the first time. And the bill could be large, thousands of dollars for a lot of people. So how are you going to pay that after being unemployed for most of the year? Well, one of the things I tell people to do is obviously set money back. One of the best ways to set it back is to use your stimulus checks. There is probably going to be another round of stimulus. It's already being talked about. Will probably be passed in the next few weeks. I'm recording this July the 3rd, so that could change. But there's probably going to be another round of stimulus. The great thing about the stimulus money, the $1,200 you already received, and any specified stimulus money you may receive in the future, is not taxable. And let's talk about why. Why the difference between that and unemployment? Well, the whole idea of unemployment is that it replaces your income. So it's treated as income. The whole idea of the stimulus checks, on the other hand, is to stimulate the economy for you to spend that money. Now, what I'm saying is, instead of spending that money, send it to Uncle Sam. It will save you a lot of heartache. Because for 2020, and for every year, truthfully, but definitely for 2020, it's wise to pay in advance anything you might owe in taxes. Because when that tax bill comes and you can't pay it next April, you're going to have to make some decisions. And owing the IRS is not a decision you want to make. So everyone should make plans right now. What are they going to do about taxes, and how are they going to deal with it? Because if you don't pay in, you largely don't get a return. There are exceptions. You have earned income if you have children. Those are clearly exceptions. But if you're a person who pays in every year and it usually gets a small return or some kind of return, this changes the game if you're on unemployment. So you've got to really stay on top of that, and now's the time while you're getting that income. You've got to be setting it back And my suggestion is go ahead and send it in to the IRS. Okay, how do you do that? You can make payments to the IRS for future taxes at any time. Self-employed people do this all the time. Every quarter, they calculate the amount of tax they're going to owe and they send it into the IRS. Now, you can do that by, you can write the IRS a letter and say, this is for my 2020 taxes. You need to state what form you normally fill out, 1040, 1040 easy, whatever you normally fill out, that form, the tax year for 2020, so they'll hold it for you, and then your name, your social security number, your address, all that information. You also need to write your tax form and year and your social security number, at least the last 4 digits, on your check. That way, if it happens to be misapplied for some reason, you have proof that you let them know how it was supposed to be done and you won't be responsible for that. So you really need to get that down, understand what you need to do, and pay it now. Don't wait. Don't wait until the end of the year and assume you're going to be okay. Owing the IRS can be a very, very difficult thing. They will charge you interest and penalties on anything that you owe. If you avoid them, as unfortunately many people try to just avoid it, they will come after you. They can come after your bank accounts. They can garnish your wages. Do not get yourself in that situation. It's preventable. Even if you're on unemployment, this is not a normal unemployment situation where you're only making a very, very small percentage. For most people, they're making their full wage or close to it. There's no excuse not to pay those taxes in advance. And that way, at the end of the tax year, you're good. You're golden. Now let's go back and talk about state taxes for just a minute. There are currently only 5 states that have income tax that do not tax unemployment benefits. It is California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Oregon. It's really important that you pay attention to what's going on in your state, even if your state has state income tax. They may or may not, with the next legislative session, pass something that addresses whether or not you have to pay income tax. Odds are you will have to pay it, so don't expect you're going to get out of it. You probably won't. Plan to pay your state income taxes and set that money aside. If your state decides at some point that you don't owe that tax, great. It can stay in your emergency fund. But you don't want to be left owing your state and owing the feds all at the same time. You will really dig a hole for yourself, especially after almost a year of being unemployed. Due to the stimulus bills that have already passed and the ones that will be upcoming, a lot of people haven't felt a huge amount of pain yet from being unemployed, other than the fact that they're not working, which bothers people psychologically. Let me tell you, it is very difficult to not do anything. But in a lot of ways, financially, it has not really hurt people yet. But at some point, it will. Now is the time to be putting back some of that money, some of that income that you're getting from unemployment, and plan for that event. There will come a time when the unemployment ends. There will come a time when the federal extra bump up ends. Now, the easy response to that is say, well, just go back to work. But as many of us found out in the last recession, those jobs disappear. A lot of those jobs will go away. Now is the time to be looking at re-educating yourself, learning new skills, learning a trade while you have the time and money to do it. Now's the time to do that and prepare yourself. It's not really being talked about a lot, which is unfortunate, but there are so many people who are just sitting at home watching Netflix. And unfortunately, that's going to come back and bite them in the butt. Now is the time you have to improve yourself, improve your skills, and be able to get jobs that you can't currently, even if they were available. You have got to expand who you are and what you are in order to be suitable for the new job market that's going to occur next year. Now's the time. You don't want to look back and say, oh gosh, if only if I'd used that 6, 8 months, 9 months, however long it ends up being, and learn something new, I could have had a much better job. I wouldn't be unemployed and be in pain. Always be thinking about what happens next year. A lot of people are so focused on what happens next week, what happens today, what are they going to do, with the next stimulus. Be thinking about, what are you going to do when it runs out? What are you going to do? A lot of people were caught with this pandemic and the resulting recession. A lot of people have been caught without emergency funds. They have been caught in tremendous amounts of debt, and it has hurt. It's going to continue to hurt worse the longer you allow it to exist. So now's the time. Get into a program. Get into your Financial Freedom with Dave Ramsey. Get into your whatever program. Kevin Hart has a new program coming out for people who are not super money savvy, and I'm really loving what they're talking about. He's teaming up with JP Morgan. I just saw a deal on an interview with him on it, and it sounds great. But there are lots of programs out there. Learn, get financially knowledgeable, and help yourself. Don't wait. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.